Welcome to this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. The types of business that occur at these meetings include public hearings, official voting on actions by the Board of Commissioners, presentations by departments of the county, and recognition of service that makes our county great. As your elected representatives, the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners is committed to improving the lives of all our residents while preparing county government to meet the demands of the future. In order to do that, we need to share our thoughts and plans with you. More importantly, we need you to share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions with us. We encourage you to come and experience the process by attending any of these meetings. They occur every first and third Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. at the St. Clair County Administration Building at 200 Grand River Avenue in Port Huron.
Going to call the St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Did that? We're doing the public hearing.
Should open the public hearing.
Yeah. We're going to open up the public hearing at this time regarding the CDBG grant for the Project Lions. Is there anybody that would like to speak on that at all? Anybody want to talk about the Project Lions Community Block Development Grant? Dan Casey, do you have anything to say about it at all? Anyone?
I'm sorry.
Does anybody want to talk on behalf of the CDBG grant for the Project Lions? Do you have anything to? It's just the public hearing piece of it. No? Okay. We're going to close.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, now we're going to jump into regular meeting. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Samasco.
Here.
Commissioner Tamian.
Here.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Here.
Commissioner Riley. Commissioner Rushing.
Here.
Commissioner Greatop.
Here.
Chairman Bohm.
Here. Any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
Hearing none, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented. Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 5, minutes of previous meetings.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the minutes of the January 15th, 2015 Commission meeting and the February 5th, 2015 Standing Committee meetings be approved and filed.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? No proclamations. Item 7, consent agenda, items A through O.
This time I would move to approve the consent agenda, items A, 7A through 7O.
Discussion on any of them? Bill?
Yeah, just one on item H. I just wanted to bring to your attention some numbers that came from the Intervention Academy, the St. Clair County Intervention Academy out at the Sheriff's Place. And take a look at the numbers you have in front of you. The high school diplomas issued is now up to 25, and the GEDs earned are now 425 for adults and 94 for children. We just had another graduation over there, and 9 kids again graduated out of there. Of those 9, 6 of them are enrolled in college or in college now, and one of them has gone off to the military. And these are kids that from your community that got in trouble with the law, that have turned their lives around through the intervention program, the Intervention Academy, and have moved on to become productive citizens in the county. So I ask that that particular piece be put in there just for your reference and to understand that this program seems to be working at this point. So.
Okay. Any other discussion on any of the items? Did I have a motion?
Support on it?
We got a motion.
Did.
Do we get support on it?
I'll support it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item 8, report to standing committees. Mr. Greatop.
I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Rushing.
Just a little bit. I attended the annual township meeting with the road commission yesterday,
and they give an annual meeting for the 23 townships. There will be an additional $230,000, $10,000 for every township to use specifically on ditching, which is going to be a big plus. In addition to that, there was over $600,000 that's going to be split between the villages and cities. And they're just doing an excellent job. They've scheduled all the road trips, and all the townships will be going out with the different foremans for each district and getting a road plan for what each township wants to do, whether it's ditching, berm, gravel haul, and the chloride applications that they do. And we'll have that by the end of April.
Okay, anything else? Steve?
No report.
Carl?
Nothing this evening.
Howard?
Nothing at this time.
I'm going to take a pass too. Item number 9, any citizens wishing to address board at this time? Any citizens? Moving on, unfinished business, none before us. Item 11A, the SEMCOG presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Kathleen Lamaco, the Executive Director of SEMCOG, and with me today is Amy Malmer, who's our Membership Manager. We want to thank you for the opportunity to address the board tonight, and we're basically going to give you a little bit of an update about what we're doing at SEMCOG and answer any of your questions. So with that, Amy is going to begin.
So just as a reminder, SEMCOG is the only organization in Southeast Michigan that brings together all of the region's governments, counties, cities, villages, townships, and schools to solve regional problems. And Southeast Michigan is defined by the shaded counties there, which are St. Clair, Macomb, Oakland, Livingston, Washtenaw, Wayne, and Monroe. This is our current membership map. Membership is strong. We've grown quite a bit in the last year. We're at an all-time high of 166 members. All of the shaded communities are members, as well as all the 7 counties are members. We also have as eligible members community colleges and intermediate school districts, and public universities can be associate members. We have 2 of those, the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor and Dearborn. SEMCOG's funding is provided by member dues, which are then used to match federal and state grants. Each of our county members appoints delegates and alternates to serve on SEMCOG's General Assembly, which is our full membership committee, and our executive committee. In the case of St. Clair County, your delegates are Commissioners Tomian and Heidemann, and your alternates are Bill Kaufman and Marston Murphy. These are the people who vote on behalf of the county at SEMCOG, and they're our main points of contact. However, membership is organizational, so all of you are welcome to attend and participate in our meetings, attend our workshops, contact our staff for any data or information that you may need. Much of SEMCOG's work is done by task forces, and those groups are open to any of you or any of the St. Clair County staff. We use those task forces to tap into expertise and perspectives from all areas of the county. I want to just remind you that we have a General Assembly meeting coming up on March 26th. That's going to be at the Detroit Institute of Arts. And new Wayne County Executive Warren Evans will be addressing the group. And we'll also be acting on SEMCOG's budget for the next fiscal year. And probably most importantly, we'll be asking the attendees to provide input on an update of our regional economic development strategy. So I encourage all of you to attend if your schedule allows. We'd love to see you there. To get into some of SEMCOG's issue areas, our regional planning activities are conducted in partnership with our members, and they have a significant impact on Southeast Michigan and on each of your communities. SEMCOG guides our members in developing the region's transportation plan. That plan prioritizes spending on the region's roads, transit, walking and biking trails to the tune of about $1 billion a year. These transportation projects are critical to preserving jobs in the economy and improving the delivery of services, goods, and freight. We work closely here in St. Clair County with the Transportation Study, SCOTS, and much of our work is assisting SCOTS with many aspects of the federal aid transportation planning process. Most importantly is making sure that St. Clair County's priority transportation projects are included in SEMCOG's transportation plan so they're eligible for federal funding. SEMCOG has supported and will continue to support major projects such as the Blue Water Bridge Plaza, currently programmed in our plan for $163.4 million, and the I-94 I-69 interchange reconstruction project, which has cost approximately $97.6 million. Both of these projects are critical to the county, the region, and to international trade between the U.S. and Canada. Kathleen is now going to talk about some of our other regional planning activities, and then she's going to circle back around and talk about transportation funding at the end of the presentation.
Thanks, Amy. Your partnership in SEMCOG also ensures that the region complies with environmental regulations so that we improve the quality of the region's air and the quality of water, both for health and recreation. In terms of water quality, there is an approved plan for the St. Clair River and Lake St. Clair. SEMCOG is now in the process of assisting in implementing projects that support the lake and cleaning up the lake. Some of the projects include the removal of the Wingford Dam on the Black River, projects that we're working on with the Parks and Recreation Department to establish more public access along Lake St. Clair. There's also a management structure that's been put in place for Lake St. Clair to address the issue of invasive species, specifically Phragmites control. We're currently seeking funding so that we can implement some of the Phragmites control approaches that were contained in that plan. Finally, on the water quality front, we're working with the water treatment plant operators along Lake St. Clair and the Detroit River, and we're in the process of submitting a funding proposal that will allow us to do scenario-based spill modeling along the St. Clair River and the Detroit River, and this modeling has already been done up on the St. Clair portion. The purpose of that modeling would be to identify vulnerabilities in the treatment plant intakes in order to improve plant readiness to respond to spills and to ensure that we have protect the public health. Turning to air, air quality is an issue that's important to our region, and the U.S. EPA sets standards for certain air pollutants that can be harmful to human health. Air quality in our region has been steadily improving over the last 20 years, but what's happening is that EPA is tightening down the standards so that meeting them is becoming increasingly difficult. St. Clair County is currently in attainment for all the six air quality attainment standards. However, what EPA is now proposing to do is lower the ozone standard, and if they do that, the entire region will be designated as non-attainment. Ozone is a pollutant that is not directly emitted. It forms when pollution from various sources react with heat and sunlight. Consequently, it's primarily been a pollutant that we've had to deal with in the summertime. If the new standard is lowered, what's likely to happen is we're going to have to worry about ozone problems in the spring and fall as well, and we're likely to see more violations of the standards. Right now, we're in the process of developing comments to provide to EPA as they're considering this standard. The focus of our comments are going to be that changing the standard is unnecessary because there's a significant number of controls that are already been put into law, but we haven't seen the benefits of those. Things like lower fuel economy standards, that as the new fleet of cars comes in, we're going to have less pollution from automobiles. There's also been a number of rules imposed on power plants that we're going to see the benefit over time. By changing the standard, if we are not in attainment, what's going to happen is it's going to trigger a lot of additional requirements that we as a region need to figure out how to comply with. And some of them are particularly onerous on all of us and costly relative to the benefits that we're going to be receiving. The one that we often see or we've seen in other places was vehicle emissions testing. When we weren't in compliance with the standard a number of years ago, remember we all had to go and have our vehicles tested, and if there were any problems with our emission controls, we'd have to have those repaired. What we found when we did that is that cars in Southeast Michigan are younger than cars in the rest of the country. We have a lower age of our fleet, and we had less of those problems, so it wasn't a very cost-effective control mechanism. EPA's own impact on the cost-benefit of this program shows that the costs far exceed the benefits. However, what they're saying right now is that they can't take into consideration the cost in evaluating these control requirements. What we're trying to do is raise with them, as well as our congressional delegation, is that it's not an effective strategy. We're going to meet the standards. It might not be in 2020, it might be in 2025, but that we don't need to impose additional standards that make our region less competitive. I understand from your staff that you have an interest in knowing how air quality is monitored. On the screen is a picture of what these monitors look like. The red arrows show where our region has these monitors, and the primary variables in what gets measured at the monitors includes the amount of pollution that's emitted, the weather conditions, whether it be the wind and the temperature, have an impact, as well as what pollution is coming from other parts outside of the region. Another aspect of air quality that's been a concern to our region and raised by a number of people is the EPA's proposed regulation of coal-fired electric generation plants. Although this regulation is being proposed to control carbon dioxide, which is not, it's designed to control carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. That's not a gas that's regulated by the Clean Air Act. It's one that the federal government wants to control because of climate change. What we know about that proposal now is that it sets very aggressive targets for carbon dioxide reduction, specifically from power plants. To comply with it, DTE and consumers will have to shut down some of their coal-fired plants. And while we don't know what plants they're likely to close, we've been told that it's likely that the older coal-fired plants are the ones that are going to be in jeopardy. The proposed timeline for the implementation of this rule is aggressive, and that many of the states, including Michigan, have been telling EPA that there isn't time to implement this in the time that they're trying to do so. And as the utilities look at how do they meet those requirements, they're going to be shifting these coal-fired plants from coal to natural gas. We're going to continue to monitor that, and our air quality staff are engaged with the utilities and major industries and the state as we try to figure out what Michigan and Southeast Michigan strategy is. In the area of economic development, as Amy mentioned at our General Assembly, we're going to be starting to update the region's 7-county economic development strategy. Our strategy focuses on 3 major areas: community assets, which is shown in blue, people and talent, and business climate. There are 12 strategies. We're going to be re-looking at those strategies and figuring out where we are with it and figuring out how do we refine and make that strategy more up to date. As a part of this effort, we're going to be working to include the relevant strategies that are contained as a part of the economic development work you've been doing with the Flint region. That said, our economic development strategy recognizes that the strong interrelationships of the existing 7-county region. We know that approximately 60% of the county residents, St. Clair County residents, work in your county, but that means that 40% of your residents go to other places. And we know that of those other places, it's primarily other parts of Southeast Michigan. In fact, only 4% of the residents in St. Clair County go outside of Southeast Michigan for employment. This slide shows, it's an application that's on our website, and the example we used was Port Huron. This is an application where you can go on our website and look at where do residents of your community go to work. You can also look at it in the reverse. Where do workers in your community come from? And I think this case of Port Huron really shows how interrelated St. Clair County, and specifically in this case, Port Huron residents, where they go to work. And primarily it's to the south. It's largely Macomb County, Oakland County, and Wayne County. Enhancing these connections is something that we're going to be looking at as a part of the update of our economic development strategy. But wanted to encourage all of you to take a look at that for your own individual communities. You'll find it interesting to see how far people travel for work. And it's also interesting, the reverse is interesting to know where employees in your community come from. Next I want to address is our advocacy efforts, and we understand that we can't address all of our issues without help from our representatives in Lansing and Washington. The air quality issue I just described is one where we've been talking to the congressional offices as well as the regulators in Washington. We also talk to and work with our state legislators, because they're our key partners as we move forward in improving the economy and quality of life of Southeast Michigan. We handed out to you a copy of our most recent newsletter, which has our legislative policy platform. The officers of SEMCOG used that document as we visited the congressional offices of both our senators and our House of Representatives. Carl represented St. Clair County and SEMCOG well as we visited those offices. We had some great conversations with them. Among the key issues we discussed are transportation funding from the federal level, as well as some specific projects. We talked a lot about the bridge plazas in Detroit and in Port Huron, and it seems like since our visit, it looks like the Detroit Bridge Plaza is going to be folded into the Canadian financing, and so now we're focusing on the Port Huron Plaza issues. I couldn't come and talk about advocacy without spending a few minutes talking about transportation funding at the state level. I'm sure we've all been reading about that in the paper. Wanted to share with you our road condition data. This is the condition of our roads. The red shows the roads in poor condition. In 2004, it was 10%. In 2014, it was 43%. And at our current rate of investment, we're going to have 75% in poor condition in 2020 if we don't do something differently. I think there's a recognition that we need additional funding for transportation. There is a proposal that the legislature has put before the citizens that we're going to be addressing in May. As you probably know, it allows the state to increase the sales tax to 7%. It exempts fuels from the sales tax. It eliminates the ability to use school aid to fund public universities. It allows school aid to be used to fund career and technical education. It replaces the 19-cent per gallon gas tax with a 41-cent per gallon wholesale tax to be implemented annually. There's a lot of complexity in the proposal. I'm sure it's been talked about by some of your citizens. wanted to let you know that this road condition data, as well as a lot of information about how this proposal will impact various communities, is going to be on our website on Tuesday. We're launching a website with information. And we just pulled out the information on what it means when it's fully implemented to the Road Commission, to the Port Huron, and to other cities and villages in your county. We've also, on that website, got frequently asked questions. So what one of our goals is to make sure that all the elected officials in our region are knowledgeable about what's in the proposal and can effectively talk to your citizens about it. From SEMCAG's perspective, our policies call for additional transportation funding, not at the expense of schools and local governments. The proposal that's before us does that. It does a lot more, and I think there's a lot of discussion as I've been out talking to many elected boards about the proposal, but wanted to share that with you. So with that, want to open it for if you have any questions for us.
David?
I have a couple. I'll start with your, because that's what you just left off on. On the road funding, this is going to be a constitutional amendment. That's why it's being put up to a vote. Currently it's 6%, it's going to go to 7%.
Correct.
The statutory and the constitutional revenue sharing, is that going to change at all for the townships?
What they're doing is they're providing additional, by removing the sales tax, they want to make it whole.
Well, I know this is a tough question, but the main revenue sources that the townships get
Right.
is from the constitutional revenue sharing.
Right.
If that changes, that's going to reduce their funding. And if we're going to sell this to whoever we represent, and I represent mostly townships, I can go to those townships and say, this is not going to affect your revenue at all for their general fund. I'm not aware of that yet, whether it's going to affect their general fund. So if you want the residents to get on board and support this, you can have, let's say, a 10% reduction in their general funds, even if there's going to be more funding for education and more funding for roads, if it's going to reduce their actual budgets to run their business as a township.
It's supposed to create an additional $95 million for revenue sharing.
Right, but that's going to be county-wide or statewide, right?
Right.
And you're going to divide 95 between the 83 counties. And from there, the cities and villages are going to get a bigger chunk than the townships, just by the populations and demographics.
The formulas.
Right. And I haven't heard from anybody yet that it will not hurt the revenue sharing that the townships currently get.
You know, I'm not the tax policy expert, but this is designed, the reason they added those provisions was so that it wouldn't disadvantage local governments. So theoretically, it's supposed to do it. You should, I'll make sure that.
Well, I'll pass that on to Bill and have him get with Phil Pavlo and have him get back with me, because we have a little time between now and May, but that's one of the questions that I'm concerned with, that it doesn't reduce any of the general funding for the townships.
Right.
The other question I have is with your demographics that you put there, and you came up with some pretty good statistics as far as employment within St. Clair County, and that 60% are within, the other 40% are down within the other 6 counties, if I understood you correct, and 4% that aren't within the 7 counties that you represent. And do you also have any specifics for the unemployment within 7 counties and the members that are part? Do you have any unemployment figures?
We do track unemployment. I don't have that right off the top of my head.
That's fine.
Right.
But if I contacted you, I could
Right,
get the
absolutely.
unemployment.
It's one of those things that we monitor as we think about our economy. And one of the things we keep saying is it's coming down, but it's still higher than other places in the
Right, when you
nation.
track your employment, what you can say is, okay, within your 7 counties, this is the increased employment that we've had.
Right.
But even though you got increased employment, you're also going to see some of it just happen. Businesses come and go, and you're going to lose people too. Even though you gained 50,000, I'm going to throw a figure out there, you might lose 10,000 people in the process while your unemployment figure is coming down.
Right.
That's all I have.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks for coming out.
Thank you. We appreciate your membership and your support of our activities.
We've got the folks from SMG here. Got a whole pile of them, I see.
This is constitutional.
Little update.
Cities and villages. And they get substantial.
Kathy, if you guys want to get out of here, you don't have to, I know you got a long ways to drive, and same with you guys, when you do your thing, you don't, I won't feel bad if you walk out. No worries.
Good evening, council members, and thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Kim Appel. I am the general manager for the Blue Water Convention Center as well as McMorran Place. With me, I have my team, a regional team. We've got regional sales, regional marketing, and the regional general manager, which is my boss, Rich McKeegan, as well as Gina Quaid here, and she is our sales and marketing person here locally with me. I know that you received a handout that shows our pro forma. And typically, in the second column, it would be a comparison, but since we haven't quite gotten there yet, you'll see the first column is April through December, and then the original pro forma figures are to the right. And it shows, if you go to the bottom, we are projecting 25,000 positive variance for this first year, and our focus is on cost-cutting opportunities as well as controlling the expenses. And the way we're going to get there is through what we like to call a three-legged stool. And that stool would be SMG, CVB, and the hotel, all working in unison partnership to make sure that we're putting forth best efforts to attract business, regional business associations. And when I arrived here in August, my number one priority was networking. And I know that it was important to the people who interviewed me, and it was also important to me, so I was happy to know that it was shared. And I have involved myself in the Chamber of Commerce. I serve on their board, as well as the Main Street Michigan board. And I have done a lot of speaking at Rotaries and city manager meetings, township supervisors meetings, and Tom Riley has been a great advocate for me to help guide the way, as well as Randy Fernandez has also kind of spurred me into the right direction to speak and just make people more aware of what's going on and that sort of thing. And our focus is to market not only to the community, but we are also marketing to the industry and to attract national and regional business. And that would be the different types of business that we would be trying to attract would be the associations, corporate, state, not-for-profit, conventions, government business, education, consumer and trade shows. And then, of course, social business, weddings and banquets and that sort of thing. And we are working with the CVB and the hotel. We meet on a bi-monthly, on Tuesdays at 8:30. We meet and we discuss what memberships we all take part in and how we can share our synergies in partnering in trade shows, as well as publications where possibly I could share a publication with the hotel side by side, where it will save us money as well as getting more exposure to us. But also, focusing in on the industry and that meeting planner that we want to bring here, and to make us, a very successful first year here. And now I'd like to turn it over to Gina Quaid, and she'll talk about the things that we've done so far in our marketing efforts, as well as what we hope to do moving forward.
So I'm going to just start from the beginning with all of the marketing that I've been involved in. I started off with the design of the logo, and there was 3 designs in there that I put out for them to be chosen from. And we went with the one design, which you guys can all see that's on the folder that I handed out. I've also put Blue Water Convention Center on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google+, so some social media outlets out there. a big project of mine was the design and creation of the website, bluewaterconventioncenter.com. That was very detailed. Obtaining the domain name was a part of that. Getting it transferred over to the Blue Water Convention Center ownership. Creating and designing the 21-page website, which includes content, links to some of the partner. Some of the partner people that we work with. Every photo slideshows, content, creating the content that gets downloaded, like floor plans and exhibitor order forms, things like that. Those all had to be created for the website. So I did that. The functionality of the website, I created it similar to some of our SMG websites that are already out there. So the functionality is very, very good for people who are looking to book it for meeting planners and things like that. I also worked on the designs of the signage that's going to be going up. I did 5 different layouts, and then one was chosen from there, and that will be going up before the opening. I've also listed the Blue Water Convention Center on our online resources to expose us to meeting planners, things like that, getting our name out there online. I've created marketing material, collateral, stuff that you've seen in front of you. Worked with a couple publications for advertising print, taken advantage of our SMG resources as far as memberships and online resources as well as that. Networking with other SMG facilities. As you can see, we have our Grand Rapids partners here. And so that's kind of what I've been working on. And as far as projected, we've got a lot of things waiting for us once we get the doors open. We are going to a trade show called OrgPro in Detroit, which is industry specific for meeting planners. It's a great place to meet people who want to book conventions, meetings, things like that. So that was also a good reference from our SMG team. We're also looking at different types of media that's industry specific as well, to place our name and ads in different type of medias there. And I've been working with a couple people on the grand opening party as well, to kind of invite the community in to see the facility and get to see what all of you and we have been working on as far as the convention center goes. And I'd just like to open it up for questions.
Questions, anybody? Steve?
A question, I'm looking at your pro forma. See, on your ancillary income, you're looking at an area where it looks like your original pro forma didn't give us a date, but is that the pro forma that was produced when we began the project?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then it's a significant downgrade in ancillary income. Do you have any idea why that is, or what would cause that? You went from 394.5 down to 244.4.
Well,
Something
that would have to do with, we're looking at basically an 8-month time period. At this time, and an ancillary would be sellable goods, sellable services.
So it's not apples and oranges, maybe? You're looking at 8 months rather than 12 on a projection? Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yes.
Okay. And then this is other ancillary services. I mean, I understand food and beverage, parking, 108,000 in other ancillary services. What types of other ancillary services would that be, as an example?
Well, most of our facilities typically have paid parking, where of course this facility does not. That would include things like the care, snow removal, fixing holes, potholes, possibly restriping, things like that.
I thought that was an income piece, so ancillary income, other
Okay,
ancillary
income? As far as that goes, this is an opportunity for us. We could actually do car shows, liquidation sales for car dealerships that need a lot of space, things like that we could offer.
So the projection for ancillary services would be things that you could do, I guess, that aren't listed specifically, is that? I'm trying to see what I understand food and beverage is
Yes.
clear, parking's clear, the
Yes.
ancillary services, you're thinking there's other things that you're gonna
Yes,
draw in,
to be-
maybe $108,000 a year for some other types of things. Is that-
Definitely going to try, yes, absolutely.
want to reference like decorating and AV, I think that's the question. It's not
Okay.
the parking
Oh,
lot item.
just the part, yes,
The
yes.
ancillary revenue.
Yep, the ancillary revenue would be, for example, if you're having a wedding, you're going to probably need a sound system, or you're going to need a dance floor. Those are a podium, things that we would typically rent to you. Wi-Fi, for example, if you need to.
Okay. All right. And then when the project was started, early on, some of the folks giving us estimates had indicated we would expect an operating deficit of maybe 300,000. And I'm looking here, it looks like your bottom line on the page, a negative 221,955. Is that the operating deficit?
Yes, yes.
So actually, and then, so the original one was 245, so you've maybe downgraded, it's improved a little bit. The operating deficit projection is actually improved based on this pro forma.
Yes.
I guess the last question, you've got 32,000 people coming in as a projected total gate, I guess I call it. Is there any average you can expect on, I was trying to do some simple math here, 32,000 people, $20 a head, is there any kind of an average gate for people to come in? I'm trying to see how that would fit with this community and what the projection is. In other words, is it a $50 a head, or is it a $20 a head, or any industry standards on that?
Rich, would you have any input on that?
You don't like?
Sure, no, if it's a bad question, just say so.
There definitely are industry standards, but I would say that they're probably related specifically to the event type. So for example, if you had a consumer show that was a golf show, the per capita spending might be quite different than a wedding for 400. So the wedding for 400, you're probably looking at $50, $60, $70 per person when you factor in some of the ancillary revenue items that Kim referenced. Whereas for a golf show, you might be looking at $3.40 as far as buying something at a concession stand. So it really varies. What we will see, and what you will see after a couple of years of being open, is having, and this is how we measure our success, having consumer shows, for example, as a category, and then seeing that per capita spending in consumer shows and pushing ourselves to get that number higher and higher. So I don't know if that answers your question, sir.
It does kind of. I just wanted to see, the proposal is people are going to come to this facility and take advantage of events. We're just curious what the average gate might be, is it what your plan is or what the projections are based on. Is it, can people afford it? Will they afford it? I've got a feel for what people can and will do, dollar-wise.
And maybe I misunderstood your question then, because if you're talking about what we think will be successful, that is a different conversation altogether. And yes, that's part of what we would assess. The vast majority of times, that though is being done by a promoter for a show. So someone that is putting on a bridal show will decide what the admittance fee might be, what the booth space, because keep in mind, it's not just the people coming to the bridal show through the front doors, it's also the exhibitors coming through the back doors. So they would have to decide what the market could bear to make the show successful. We would be participatory to that process, but we would not be self-promoting all of the events that are in the facility.
Then on your three-legged stool approach, would you expect the hotel might accommodate you, like to draw certain people and put together packages that might be attractive to?
Kim can speak to that now, yeah.
Yes, we're actually working that through now, just to, depending on, for example, with the catering service, with Freighters is our caterer. We actually created a catering menu that really speaks to those who are planning functions versus just your typical menu. And with the hotel, they are willing to work with us. If we need a little push here or a little push there, we're all willing to work together.
That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions for him?
Can I make a couple
Sure.
comments? And I'll, real quickly before I forget, I'll get back to the question that you just mentioned, Commissioner Samasco. One of the opportunities that SMG is exploring with some other community partners is what other events might we be able to package for a convention, for a wedding. Some of them may be on-site, some may be off-site. Right next door, right outside our back door, is the Thomas Edison Depot. That would be a great opportunity for an evening event, if you're there for a convention or a conference, to go over and tour the facility, maybe a little wine and cheese event that could be there as well, that we could package as part of this. The boat cruises through the Huron Lady. There are a lot of opportunities that SMG is working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, the hotel, to try and put those packages together. So when they sit down with the meeting planner, not only do they get this material, but they're going to start getting information about, here's a typical package that we might be able to put together for you. So that, too, will, I guess, bring some added value to the facility for us. The budget that you see in front of you was approved in the fall as one of the special revenue budgets that Carrie presented to you. So you've seen this. There's been a couple little tweaks, but it's very minor, not enough that Carrie and I thought it was even worth amending the budget for. We will be sending a lot of financial information and reports to you once the facility comes into operation. Carrie has been meeting with Gina about developing a standard financial report that will be shared with Carrie and then transferred to you as well. I'm sure after a period of time you'll get tired of seeing a monthly report and you may only want to go to a quarterly report, but we want to make sure that you have as much information as possible about what's going on with this facility, and it's available to the public as well. The Gina mentioned the website and the domain. I realize it was just a small part of the project, but you would not believe the trouble we had securing a domain name, because what we discovered was several years ago, somebody grabbed all of the domain names that you could think of for our facility, and we had to bargain with them to purchase those names back. That's something we didn't even think would exist, but lo and behold, it did. And unfortunately, it took it a little bit longer to create the website because we didn't have the ability to own that name.
Please tell me I wasn't a lawyer, that's all.
So, and one more thing I want to point out to you is the marketing material that they've shared with you today. We expect that to evolve over time. What we've got is some information we wanted to make sure we got in your hands as quickly as possible. We believe that things like the vendors list, the preferred vendor list that you see there, as the convention center becomes operational, I really expect that you're going to see local businesses step forward and say, you know what, we'd like to provide this service, we'd like to prefer.
I know it was for, how do people become preferred vendors? What do you?
I would say put them in touch with.
We actually
Kim.
contacted local vendors and asked them if they would like to be partner with us, and everybody that I spoke to was super excited to just be part of it and be the.
And we share a commission.
Those ones are specific to conventions and meetings. We do have a longer list for our wedding preferred vendors. So those ones are just specific to conventions, meetings, things like that.
So certainly if you're aware of someone,
Yes.
give them, you've got Kim's business card in your packet, pass that along to them.
You don't need a lawyer though, do you?
Everybody needs a lawyer.
But if you're planning a monthly meeting, we'll gladly book that for you.
Just one comment I'd like to make, unrelated actually to SMG, is just the convention center. Obviously, when we decided to move forward, it was somewhat controversial, but if you look at some of the spin-off things that have happened, we've got the hotel on Water Street that is currently under construction. We met with those individuals pre this. If you go, we go. the Michigan National Bank building, which is now going to be a boutique hotel. And they're also doing the project at Sperry's, that individual's putting about 22 million into those two projects for real money, not, you know, whatever. And so just that immediate impact, that making the announcement where we're at today, it's been well talked about, an expansion on the Thomas Edison, and I can tell you there are a couple other hoteliers, because I sit on the Convention and Visitors Bureau, that have an interest in putting additional hotels in the market, because we know there's going to be an increase in the numbers, and we run pretty strong numbers currently. So that, to me, you know, that was always the $1 million question. It was the $9 million question. If we move, what other, you know, things are going to come, because often I talk about the county's taxing benefit. We receive 5.6 mils non-homestead of any of these additional properties. So when you start looking at putting substantial hotels in, the amount of money that the county receives and the taxing benefit that didn't exist before is substantial. That comes back on the backside to us. So,
Jeff,
Howard?
is the owner of the DoubleTree still talking about putting on a tower?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've been the fly on the wall in some of the meetings with those guys, that they know when the convention center opens, 149 rooms isn't enough, so to speak. So 200 plus is kind of their target number. So, you know, there's site plans and some of that stuff. So, and they're running strong. So, so far so good. Booked that thing, and you know, it's the old crystal ball 3 to 5 years from now, because we know there's going to be a ramp up period on this. It's been well talked about. So, you know, where are we at 3 years down the road is really will be the determining factor, I think, to success, to long-term success. Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on. Item number C.
This time, I'd like to move to approve the county disbursements for January 2015 in the amount of $15,212,149.66.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item D, the Health Advisory Board appointment.
Mr. Chair, I move the appointment of Monica Standell to the Health Advisory Board representing District 3 for a 2-year term expiring 12/31/2016.
Support.
Discussion.
Mr.
Howard?
Chair, just for clarification, I represent on the County Board District 3, but the County Health Board is different districts, and this is a representative, I think, from Mr. Samasco or Mr. Rushing's area, so. she'll be
Masco, District 1.
District 1.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed. Item number E, Port Security Grant Planning and Exercise Proposal.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would move to approve the port security planning contract proposal from Fair Winds Consulting LLC in the amount of $17,000.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item number F, the Community Mental Health Board appointment. Before we get into that, I do have a letter from an Edwin Premier who currently sits on the board that is asking to be reappointed to the board. It didn't show up on here, but he's a current member, and I would like to put that on for consideration.
I would make that motion.
Second.
You need two separate motions?
Not just well, we're putting that individual that's currently on there, Thompson, as a renewal, and then renew this individual too.
And Bill, I left you a letter that came to me. Which board was that for?
Well, actually, we have two other individuals that we could do this as well. We're planning on, they're on the agenda for the March meeting, but if you want to take care of them tonight, that's fine. I've got a letter here in front of me from Abigail Jennings. She is from District 1. Her term expires the end of March as well. She's asking to be reappointed. And we also have a letter from Mr. Stephen Armstrong, who's from District 2. His term expires on March 31st of 2015. So if you want to move those up and take care of them today as opposed to next month, that's fine.
They won't expire, but it'd be easy enough to do tonight, but it wouldn't expire. They'd still be sitting on the board, and if we did it full board next month, it'd still be the same effect.
Same difference.
No difference.
So, whatever direction you like to go.
I would just as soon make those appointments tonight.
All four?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just a little. Of course, you got the one that we had on the agenda, which is Nancy Thompson. She does come from my district. She is currently the principal at Memphis Elementary. She is very involved with the children there, and she'll be a big asset. She's also the co-superintendent for Memphis School District. And she lives in Wales Township. Her husband's actually the supervisor for Wales.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 2015 Library Strategic
If I
Plan.
could, on that motion, because I have it here, because we included everybody, who had the motion and who had the second?
Howard had the motion, Graytop had the second.
Okay, item G.
Mr. Chair, I would move the approval of the 2015 Library Strategic Plan.
Support. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item H, Hoopla Digital Media Service Agreement for the library.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would move to approve the Hoopla Digital Media Service Agreement for the library in the amount of $15,000 for a 24-month term.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes. Item I, the State of Michigan Medical Marijuana Grant for the Sheriff's Department.
This time I would move to approve the State of Michigan Medical Marijuana Grant for the St. Clair County Sheriff's Department in the amount of $48,917.10.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item J, the Agricultural Preservation Board reappointment.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we reappoint Kenneth Langmesser, representing the agricultural community, and Diana Seifert, representing cities and villages, to the Agricultural Preservation Board, each for a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2017.
Second?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item K, the Blue Water Riverwalk Coastal Wetland Construction Contract.
Mr. Chair, I would move to award the contract for the construction of the Blue Water Riverwalk Coastal Wetlands to Body Construction in the amount of $810,976 with a total approved projected budget of $836,624.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes. Item L, the Memorandum of Understanding for the City of Port Huron for the wetland construction.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would move to approve the Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Port Huron regarding the Blue Water Riverwalk Coastal Wetland.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Item M, the Goodles Park metal roof replacements. I see Mark here if anybody's got any questions for any of the park stuff.
We went over this at our committee meeting, so at this time I'll move to appoint the contract with Reasonable Roofing for the replacement of the Mechanics Barn roof at Goodles County Park in the amount of $26,740.
Second?
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Graytop.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes. Item N, the Resolution 15-2 for the St. Clair County International Airport rates and fees.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the commission adopt Resolution 15-02, amending the St. Clair County International Airport rates and fees.
Support.
Discussion. You just scratching your nose, or do you want to say
No, I was
something?
just gonna, just wanted to know if I could still get my plane washed for $5 out there, Jan.
Should fix that.
You're gonna fix that part?
Probably better, though.
Okay, if I pay $5 for my car, I gotta pay more than that for my airplane. All right. That's it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item O, the Way Property Acquisition Agreement with the Six Rivers Land Conservancy for the Goodles Park expansion.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of the Way Property Acquisition Agreement with Six Rivers Land Conservatory for a 38.79 acre expansion of Goodles County Park.
Support.
Discussion. Steve, that's been something you've been talking about for quite some time out there, so.
That's been on our agenda, I think, for 12 years.
Yeah.
So,
Roll call.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
yes.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Chairman Bone.
Yes. Item P, the Accelerate a Plan for Regional Prosperity, the Economic Development Strategy and Prosperity Plan for the I-69 Thumb region.
This time, Chairman Bohm, I would move to adopt Resolution 5-01, supporting Accelerate a Plan for Regional Prosperity, Economic Development Strategy, and Prosperity Plan for the I-69 Thumb region.
I'll second that.
Oh, I
Discussion.
believe potentially we may have a slight amendment to the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to address that. When we had quite a presentation from the I-69 corridor and the EDA about all these projects at the last meeting, and I support this resolution. But as all of you know, we have been participating with SEMCOG on a similar plan for many years. This is really the first time we've prepared a SEDS plan with the I-69 corridor. And I would like to amend the existing resolution and add a final whereas before the resolve clause, that whereas St. Clair County has also submitted SEDS projects through the Southeastern Michigan Council of Governments, SEMCOG, to the US EDA.
Does it make the
I'll
motion?
support that.
Okay.
We need a motion on the amended now.
This, can I ask a question? This resolution appears to take advantage of federal funding under the Department of Commerce for monies, like $200 million in federal money that flows down for regional economic development. And I've looked at two resolutions, one that Dave had from Shiawassee, another one that Lapeer passed on the 22nd, and they're identical in language. You know, if we add something to it, is that going to do anything with respect to, this is grant application stuff?
I've talked with Dan Casey about this. We don't think it's going to have any
I
impact.
thought maybe we want Corporation Council to look at it.
It's just a whereas clause. We just want to make sure that.
It's for inclusion, so they feel they're not left
Well,
out.
and we want to make sure that our partners in the I-69 corridor, and especially the state of Michigan and the US EDA, know that we still are participating very strongly with SEMCOG.
Okay.
It doesn't change the
I just didn't know.
agreement.
I just noticed they're all the same, probably because they came from the same place. The federal government pushed them down, and people just use them. And I see what you're doing. I just thought I'd throw out there, is there something you want to look at so it doesn't break the mold for future grant applications or something? That's all.
We're used to breaking the mold all the time.
I don't mind breaking the mold, but if you don't get, if it keeps you out of the money pot, that's a bad deal, you know?
All in favor on the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Moving on, the Health
Do
Department.
we have to approve the regular, the first motion? We just voted on the amendment.
Amendments were made. Now you gotta
Okay,
say
I'm
this
sorry.
was-
First one, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, moving on to the Health Department accounts receivable write-offs.
This time, I'd like to move to approve the Health Department accounts receivable write-offs in the amount of $55,389.75.
Support.
Discussion. Roll call.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco. Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner Bohm.
Yes. Item number R, the library manning table revision request.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would move to approve the request to add a Community Relations Friend Development Coordinator position to the library's manning table.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Item S, the refunding of the community mental health and communication bonds.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll move that motion.
Second?
Discussion? Mr. Greatop?
Yeah, I would just like it noted that I know administration and Carrie's office worked diligently on this particular piece, and we are looking at a savings of $680,000 on the Series A and $98,000 on the Series B bonds. And I think it behooves us to pay attention to the fact that our administration is on top of these things, always looking to save some money for us in one form or another. And Carrie in your office did a great job on that. We appreciate that. And I'm wondering where we can spend that money now.
Just require a roll call vote then or no?
There you go, convention center.
Howard?
Just a comment. The big savings, obviously, goes to the community foundation, community mental health. And our savings would be just the a smaller amount. But community mental health will definitely win on this.
Yeah, the community mental health, just to go back a lot of years, some of you may have been here, some of you weren't. The community mental health did not have the ability to go out and get a bond themselves. Community mental health wanted to consolidate under one location, and they were renting a lot of facilities throughout the city mainly, and wanted to put it all under one. So the county bonded for the building of that building. It was a way that they had to structure that at the time so that they could actually achieve that, and then the community mental health makes the payment to the county on it. So that happened, I don't even know, Howard, 18 years ago.
Following up on that, back many years ago, 10 years ago or so, we had to deal with 9/11 dispatch and building the towers for the 800 megahertz system. And the county had a bond for that to make it happen. So we're going to realize for our 9/11 dispatch about an additional, give or take, $10,000, $12,000 a year in bond savings. So thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Greatop.
Yes.
Commissioner Rushing.
Yes.
Commissioner Heidemann.
Yes.
Commissioner Tamian.
Yes.
Commissioner Samasco.
Yes.
Chairman Bohm.
Yes. Item T, the Community Development Block Grant Business Development Application.
Mr. Chair, I move the adoption of Resolution 1505 authorizing Automotive Systems USA Incorporated SMR Project Lions application for Community Development Block Grant, Business Development and Job Training funding to the state of Michigan.
Support.
Jeff, you want to say something, or do you?
Sure. I'd love to introduce it. We also have a couple of people here in the audience to speak towards this project as well. Myself, Lori Eschenberg from the Metropolitan Planning Commission, Dan Casey of the St. Clair EDA, and John Desanewski, the Finance Director of SMR Automotive Systems of USA, Marysville, are here tonight to seek authorization by way of the resolution that you just introduced, Commissioner Heidemann, to go after a community development block grant business development application. In large part, this is a job training grant. SME is looking at hiring and training 200 new employees on their Marysville campus, and EDA, the Metropolitan Planning Commission, and the county have been working closely with SMR for several months now in development of this application. A large portion of it, and a large portion of the work that's gone into it so far has been headed up by Lori from our office, and that's been in the environmental review process. As you know, these are CDBG funds, are coming through the federal government, and as such, you have to go through a lengthy environmental review process, and there's been a lot of work that's gone into that, a lot of work out in the field, doing research, assembling a lot of information back and forth with state offices that go through in a typical environmental review process. And Lori's done quite a bit of that work. We've just wrapped up recently the public review process period of that environmental review process. And now this project is ripened to the point where we're ready to go forward with an application. That's why we're before you this evening to seek a resolution authorizing that submittal of that application to the state of Michigan, the Michigan MADC, for the funding of this business development program. So that being said, Dan Casey of the St. Clair County Economic Development Alliance is here this evening. I'd like to ask Dan if you want to come up and talk a little bit about how we've worked together in developing this application and how the EDA has supported the SMR all along the way to get us to this point.
Thank you, Jeff. As you know, we all worked with SMR about a year and a half ago on a pretty good sized project at their facility, and as that project was wrapping up, it became evident that there was an opportunity for another project to occur that would involve a significant amount of job creation. In working with the state of Michigan, the state suggested that we proceed with a CDBG grant to provide the job training component that the company is going to need for the project. And so we're going through that process. I think Jeff just laid it out for you. If you approve the resolution, what this essentially does is it creates a pass-through through the county of federal funds that also pass through the state to you. So it's a pass-through, and this is a reimbursement program. So essentially the company has to complete the job training. They have a number of years over which that training might occur, and then they submit for the reimbursement to the state. And so you become the entity that allows those funds to pass from the state back through to the company. So pretty straightforward process. And John, I know that you've got a whole presentation, but I'm not sure if the board needs to hear it, but if you'd like to say a few words, please come up.
Hi, and good evening. I will just get this started, and I'll try to give you at least the highlights. For two reasons. One, because I'm sure your constituents will ask you what exactly it was you were doing with that company, SMR Automotive, and what can you tell me about them? Why have we been reading the articles over the last couple of years about us? Well, as a global group, we're part of a $6 billion larger company, the Motherson Group, SMG. You'll find our parent company ultimately listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange. Very large global automotive supplier with about $6 billion in total sales. The division we're a part of, it's rear vision systems, rear view mirrors. That can be a camera system, largely the exterior car rear view mirrors you see on the doors, and also interior mirror systems. Certain other products, fuel fillers, and some door handles. Globally, we have a very large presence. Our largest customer is actually Hyundai Kia out of Korea. But followed also closely by Volkswagen, Renault, Nissan, and of course the domestic big three, who we have a great deal of our business with. Our global footprint is truly that. We have operating companies in 18 different countries, engineering centers, as well as sales and marketing teams. Our plant here in Marysville actually operates as a regional center. We also provide management services and engineering designs for Mexico, Brazil, and for engineering designs also globally, because OEMs like to source as many common programs as they can. Examples of the exterior mirrors you see, from something that's very simple to things that have cameras, lane detection, power fold and telescoping features, turn signals, you name it. We've got all of those items integrated on our product. In terms of engineering, that on-site engineering provides a great deal of high-quality service, really from initial design all the way through execution of tools and delivery to the plants. As a group, again, we're an automotive specialist. There are a lot of other smaller volume lines that we do business with in terms of portions of exterior and interior trim, door handles, and certain other switch and roof console components. So our location right now, to give you an idea about growth, really 5 years ago coming out of the economic downturn, we struggled like any other automotive supplier did. We were only doing about $78 million worth of sales in that year. That's how small we had shrunk. But having survived that economic downturn really gave us opportunity once the economy and the overall automotive market rebounded. Currently, we are looking at about $226 million in sales in the current year. Our current year ends March 31st. In about 2 years' time, we'll be growing to a little over $425 million. So it's a substantial growth. And really, in the out years, we're looking at being a $500 million size company just in that location. Three basic processes we use for producing our product. We have an extensive molding operation in our primary first plant. About 54 molding machines today that will grow to something close to 85 machines. Paint plant, now 2 paint plants, if you recall the most recent organizational announcement, capable of painting close to 6 million parts per year. Total capacity now about 14 million pieces with the second plant. And assembly floor space, which is really the largest part of the Project Lions. What the initial Project Tigers at the MEDC and the EDA city and county had helped us with really allowed us to make the first big step towards expansion, which we thought would cap out around $350 or $370 million in sales. And now with this opportunity to expand again for Project Lions, $450 million to a $500 million level. So that first expansion's gone very successfully. That gives the example of what our sales pipeline growth is looking like through fiscal 19. Very extensive, and for us, usually you see charts like this, you see guys pointing in an ad to it because you're just going up, 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 and that's exactly what ours has done over these last couple of years. Represents a very strong growth trend. So our overall expansion is largely complete for Project Tigers. That second paint plant is constructed and in. So far for that commitment, we committed about 350 jobs to be created, and we're a little over 250 jobs created now. We anticipated that would take us about 3 years to get to that point, and we're going to be completing that in about 2 to 2.5 years, right in that range. So it's been a very fast, explosive growth trend. And again, those 350 employees really been across the whole spectrum. There have been engineers, managers, as well as technicians and the operators that work on the floor and build the product themselves. Between the two projects, we're looking at about $60 million in investment in these facilities. And then again, examples of the launch of the second paint plant, which I think at least a couple people had a chance to attend from the commission as well as local officials. And just aerial views of our most recent, what things look like today with Plant 1, 2, and 3, where our primary locations in Marysville, and the facilities that we have also in Port Huron on 16th Street. Now, when we talk about Project Lions, and this is just the high-level point and where I get to finish, what our new campus will look like is an expansion of what really is the largest building you see towards the fore of the picture. About 81,000 square feet of additional assembly floor space and some additions to the parking that will be required there as well. So what the Project Lions really to us represents that addition of floor space in Marysville for assembly. There will be some secondary expansion that takes place at our transit warehouse in Port Huron, about 20,000 square feet. That investment for this portion, that's about $20 million. And when we talk about the job creation side, and this is the exciting part for us, the extra 200 jobs that I'll say it'll probably be a little less than 2 years because our expansion rate has been so dramatic. And I don't really anticipate that it stops just with those 200. When we get to that $500 million level, we'll be darn near the largest employer in St. Clair County. The truth is, this is a project that for us outcompeted other locations just like the prior one did for Project Tigers. And it hasn't been possible without the support, of course, of our employees and the help from our partners. The county, EDA, and of course the MEDC. So there's just your informational bit. I kept it as fast as I could. Were there any questions anyone had about the project?
John, with the expansion that you're doing and all the jobs that you're creating, are you having a difficult time finding the help that you need in St. Clair County? Are you having to go outside the county to find people?
Indeed, at times we are, and it really depends on the position. There are engineers that we found locally. but we have had to work at times through local recruiters. We're trying to come up with some of our own innovative ways through the county to work on both training programs and also development programs for some of our own people. I myself started with the company about 13 years ago, and I started as a financial analyst, and I moved up through the ranks. And you actually find a lot of our employees got their start that way. They started in lower levels of the company, and they now represent many of our executives,
I
as
can
well
only
as
assume that
managers.
you're working with, like, the community college and other places around here to create some of this job development.
Yes, there is a particular grant that we utilize now with the community college that's helped with that development and training, as well as try to keep as many of those jobs local as we can.
David?
Just one little trivia. I don't know if you do it where you're at, but about 16 years ago, a company I owned, we were designing mirrors for 53-foot trucks that had a sensor where the mirrors would automatically turn to get the blind spots. Do you guys do that where you're at?
As far as turning, no, there are some powerful capabilities that we do employ. As far as vision and moving, it would normally be switch operated as opposed to being automatic. If you see
the
the
sensor on the back of a 53, and it was a standard where
Oh,
the
okay.
mirrors would automatically move with wherever the truck moved.
Yeah, if you see a lot of the F-250s and 350s around town that have those large two-arm mirrors, that's a product of ours, and that actually represents a significant portion of our growth, is the next generation of that product. And that's designed to power telescope and to power fold. It doesn't do it automatically with a sensor, but it gives anybody that tows the best vision on the road that's out there in the market.
Anyone else?
It wasn't railroad.
I'm just going to make a couple comments because it's been interesting just to see. I used to hit golf balls on that property back when it was the Marysville driving range years ago. But I've been on the board 10 years, and that 10 years ago, the city of Marysville had to take on some pretty big steps working with the EDA to help the first phase of the expansion because it wasn't SMR, it was a previous company that wasn't in that good a shape, I guess, financially, so they really stuck their neck out, and it's been interesting to see the growth and the expansion. I've personally been to 3 different, expansion groundbreakings here in the last however many years, and your expansion previous to this, when your president was talking about, we thought we were going down to Mexico, we thought we were going down south, and the state was able to make the business case to continue to do business in Marysville.
Exactly.
And that comment said that when he said that, that really hit home with me because here so often we sit in the EDA's capacity, the county, we do whatever we can to assist to help foster, job creation. And Howard and I always talk about it's the number one thing that people, we can philosophically debate different things, but the jobs piece of it. So it was nice to know that we had the proverbial dog in the fight, that it wasn't just that we were going through the exercise and the company was going somewhere else, and that was 2 expansions ago, and now here we are, this expansion and everything. So it's a great story to tell with that, with your company and what they've done down there. So that's my little spiel. Okay, anything else?
Just thanks for the
Thank you.
investment.
Thank you.
On the grant application, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed. Moving on, item U, the emergency management manning table revision request.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would move to approve the request to add a part-time Homeland Security planner to the emergency management manning table contingent upon continued grant funding.
Support.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed. Item 12, administrators report.
Start right off with the convention center. I'm sure that's what a lot of people want to hear about. You've got the most recent financial report in your agenda packet. I can tell you that at this point, as has been reported in the paper over the weekend, the facility is about 95% complete. We are working towards a full certificate of occupancy very soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. That doesn't mean that we'll be open for business, however. It just means that we've met all the life safety requirements and we can then begin occupying the building. There's certainly more work that needs to be done before we can provide all the services that are necessary to people that want to use the facility. As you heard tonight, marketing is underway. Signage has been ordered, and the exterior signage as well as the interior directional signage will be installed prior to the opening. We expect the Convention and Visitors Bureau to move in very shortly, probably in the next couple of weeks. We're working with the hotel and some of the other site partners on some of the finishing touches, the actual finishes that will go in some of the area as well. And as Kim and Gina reported to you, there is a group that's working on some opening events that are being planned to be held very soon. Last week, the Blue Meets Green held a goal-setting session here in this building downstairs. It was resulting in the third iteration of their plan for the entire community. And again, that group is made up primarily of private sector individuals from throughout the community that want to make a difference and want to work towards changing our economy. The county certainly is involved in that. Chairperson Bohm sits as the vice chair of Blue Meets Green. They came up with 5 top projects that will be pursued over the next year and a half. And again, this group does not implement projects. This group only advocates for and does whatever they can to help the project champions overcome obstacles. One was the development of a new Amtrak station that's been talked about for Port Huron Township. There was a development plan for the old YMCA property. You remember when that was demolished a couple of years ago? The city would like to put in place a development plan. The creation and the support of a new position called an innovation director. They would oversee the operations of the Smart Zone, Techport, and an incubator that exists, and a new incubator that is in the process of being created as well. The Marine City Hotel project, which you've heard a little bit about in the past as well. And the last one that made the cut was talent coordinator. This is a position that would be used in conjunction with RISA and many of our schools that have individuals in the school that help students discover opportunities for their careers once they get out of high school. The EDA's annual meeting was held since our last meeting. They delivered information on their goals as well. 3 primary goals: jobs and investment, community vitality, and competitive talent, creating competitive talents. You can see some of the connections to the Blue Meets Green that I just mentioned. Tonight you heard a little bit from SEMCOG on what some of their regional economic development goals for the community are as well. The reason I'm bringing all these up is, you know, you've been engaged in talking about setting goals for this organization for the next 2 years. The information that we get from Blue Meets Green, from the EDA, and certainly from SEMCOG as well, will be brought into the mix to help refine the set of goals that will be presented to you. The search for the director of the Planning Commission, as you know, is underway. The application period has been closed. The applications are being reviewed by a committee made up of primarily the chairpersons, past chairpersons of the Planning Commission that still sit on the commission, as well as administration. We will be selecting individuals that we will then schedule for interviews. We hope to be able to offer the position to someone in late March or early April. So we'll certainly keep you aware. As you know, the Planning Commission has been advised that there's some other type of work we would like them to do. Some examples of that kind of work was presented to you tonight. A lot more involvement in economic development, working with the EDA, working with our local businesses. The kind of stuff that was reported on tonight are things that in the past the Planning Commission did not do, but it's something you've made clear you want them involved in. So that's a skill we'll be looking from the new director to help provide. The Planning Commission's annual workshop, planning workshop, is coming up. You've got a flyer sitting on the table in front of you. If you could share this with your local constituents. There are extra copies in the back. This is on the Planning Commission and the county's website as well. One thing to make note of is the transportation funding, or the sales tax bill that will be on the ballot in May. SEMCOG is sending some staff people up here that evening, and they'll be talking about it, answering questions, and covering some of the details that Commissioner Rushing asked as well. So please pass this on to folks. Reminder, a State of the County is on March 27th at noon at Alexander's. Invitations will be going out very soon. They'll be coming from the Blue Water Area Chamber of Commerce. The audit, 2014 audit, the auditors will arrive in April. We expect that the audit will be completed in the late summer. You've probably heard or seen in the news that the state of Michigan has had to make some mid-budget year adjustments. We've been watching those to ensure that if there is a financial hit to this organization, we're aware of it and can deal with it. Reported at our last department head meeting, which was a week ago. As of now, the only area that has been hit by the budget cuts has been the health department. They did lose some revenue and will be making some adjustments in some of their programming. If we hear of anything else, we'll certainly share that with you as well. The day treatment night watch wetland permit, if you remember, this was to allow us to use that site behind day treatment night watch for some other purposes. We had to find a mitigation site. We're working with the Drain Commissioner on a site that has been approved in Fort Gratiot Township. The draft permit has been signed by the county. It's off to the EPA for them to sign. After they sign the permit, then we have a number of additional steps, including financial assurances, so they feel comfortable that we'll actually be able to live up to our commitments in the permit. The design work will begin, which will be primarily clearing and grading of the site. And then we expect that the project will actually get underway sometime in late spring. That's it.
Questions for Bill at all? Motion to receive the administrator's report.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Miscellaneous business. I have two items that I want to talk about. First of all, we have the Blue Water Woman of the Year in attendance this evening. Carrie Hepting won that. I know a lot of the guys were traveling, but a few of us got an opportunity to go to the event, and she did a nice job talking. And out of everybody submitted, it's interesting that Patty Sammer that runs it sends out all the applications to her friends that don't live in this area, and they are the ones that pick the person that Carrie won. As Carrie said, Bill just writes better than everybody else does. But very, very cool. Also, process. As you know, and Steve's going to talk a little bit tonight, Commissioner Samasco's is riding off into the sunset here after this final meeting. Applications for his district are open till March 2nd, close of business.
4 p.m.
4 p.m. They have to be submitted to the clerk's office. My intent is to have Jay submit all those applications to us on March 5th at our first board meeting. I would then like to call a special meeting on March 12th, which we would come in and then we would score all the candidates. We did go through this when we had Commissioner Kearns pass on a few years ago, and that process worked pretty well. We picked, at that time, we said it was going to be our top 5 candidates, but 1, 2, 3, and 4 had scored 5, 6, 7, and 8 all scored out. So we took essentially the top 4 candidates, and we can determine whether we want 3 or 4. We can make that call. Come back and set up some interviews on March 19th to interview the candidates before our meeting. Then what I would probably like to do is look at maybe a special meeting on the 20th, if people are available, just to call, to give everybody some time to digest what they heard at the interviews, and then, have a meeting and then choose our person then. So we're going to have a couple meetings, coming up, and it's to essentially fill Steve's thing. So I will turn.
Well, currently, your intent is on March 20th will be the date that the intent is to appoint a new commissioner.
Correct.
Okay.
I think to have the interviews and then try to pick that night, have the interviews, give everybody a night to sleep on it, figure out what they hear, and then we can come back and go through the scoring system that we did. So there's going to be a couple.
Those meetings at 6 o'clock, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, what we'll do on the second, we're just getting things submitted. We can choose. I mean, if we just keep a 6 o'clock time frame on the 12th, we'll have the individuals. Generally, our meetings, aren't that long before this. We could do our meeting. We could just have the interviews with the candidates, then come back the following. And we could even on that Friday, if we want to do something at noon, or whatever, come back here. It doesn't have to be. I know it's a Friday, but kind of intent. We can, we can tweak it if
Right.
need be.
On the 19th, 6 p.m. will be our full
Full board
meeting anyway,
meeting, yeah.
So you might want to have it at 5 for the interviews or 4, whatever you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It really depends how much is going to be on our agenda. We can make that call on the second and see if we've got a big agenda. If we got a light agenda, we'll just keep it at 6 o'clock and do the interviews. And these interviews aren't, they're not hour-long deals. They're the tell us about yourself. We'll have the information, some question answer type of stuff. So
Verify they're not lawyers, I imagine.
You should be so lucky, Dave.
So that's kind of it for me. Any other miscellaneous business before we do have Kleenex here? Steve is going to be talking if anyone gets teared up.
I provided that to you, Jeff. I need another one. I've been using this one.
Bill.
I spent the last couple of weeks working on my farewell address. I wanted to say something nice about everyone on the board. When I got to Howard, I couldn't think of anything, so I just quit. Seriously, we've done a lot of good work on the board. I've enjoyed the work we've done. We've worked with board members, administration, staff, employees. We pulled the county through some tough times. The last, going on 9 years I've been on the board. And I don't know if it was an omen, but when I came in, that was right after 08, and everything just went downhill, tax evaluations, and we just had to really work hard to get where we are today. So, I mean, we've all worked hard to get there. All thing I'll tell you is, don't screw it up. That's it. Words of best advice I got for you.
Well, I'd like to say a couple things. Steve and I have been on the board 8 years. Agree to disagree on things, as we all do here, but never walk out of this meetings, hard feelings, can't stand sitting in the room with each other, any of that stuff. None of that. Steve's done a great job. The area that Steve represents is a very rural agricultural area, and sometimes, you don't think about that. The towers were great examples. When we did the tower bill, everybody had communication systems here, except there was a hole out in, Steve's area, and Steve's
They had
like,
a 4-phase system, and they built 1, 2, and 4, and they left all 3. Well, 3 was in my district.
Yeah, and it left a hole in that particular area, and like I said, a lot of us don't. David, you got a rural community, you too, but just with the agricultural piece of it, that's a big piece of it, and a lot of those other things that you've had the ability to bring to the table, and your knowledge of the court system, working, obviously you worked here for 18 years, you know that well, you know that, so often it's nice to have that ability to, that somebody has a particular expertise, and that, and I trust what you tell and the information that you give me is proper, and we make our decisions on that, and not just a board member, but a friend too, so it's been a good 8 years.
I would also like to say that my time with Steve on the board has been very good. I've known Steve a lot longer than I've been on the board because we did some things socially down in the Algonac area for a number of years, and so I've known him then, and he was a great help when it came time for me to decide to run for this position, and he helped me with a lot of good advice and told me what I could do legally and what I couldn't do legally, and that was good.
Go ahead, Bill, say it. I trained you well. Come on.
So it was good. I'm going to be sorry to see you go. As Jeff said, we can agree to disagree. There were times when Steve was on the other side and Dave was on the other side with Steve, and I was on the other side away from those two guys. And we get together afterwards and sit between these two guys, and we bump a fist and we talk about fun things, and we keep business, and it has really, really worked out well. So Steve, I'm going to miss you. I will still call you for lunch. I know you don't think I'm going to, but I will.
Just don't forget the Lions Club events.
Yes, sir. You're still on my list.
Mr. Chair?
Howard?
Just a couple comments. You mentioned the difficulties we went in 208. I'm not going to blame you for those.
Right there, no.
But on the other hand, your continued emphasis upon making sure that we had balanced budgets, that we've retained our rainy day fund, and that resulted in improving our bond rating, saved us money. We acted on that tonight. We're still receiving the benefits of that. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the most important contribution you made, and that was the dog kennel ordinance.
Yes, sir.
We had meetings after meetings. This place was packed. I thought the fire marshal was going to be here saying, people, get out of here. More interest, right?
Most I've ever seen.
Most I've ever seen on all of the issues coming before this Board of Commissioners, including all of the tough budgets we dealt with.
I agree, yeah. It can be lonely up here.
And you made it happen, finally. So, big to-do.
I was used to being the target of abuse, being in court a lot, so you can manage that. It helped, you know. So.
Mr. Chair?
Just something short. Steve and I have become good friends and going to continue on. And one thing you could have said about Howard that would be positive, we got him to vote for the prevailing wage. We're turning him over to a Republican, so we're getting him close. The other thing, you've helped me with things, and now I have a new legal name, Dave Choo Choo Rushing. Got documentation, so thank you.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'm the newest commissioner, and I'm really glad that I sat next to Steve as I was going through my first couple of years. He's been there to help me and guide me and elbow and kick me, and I appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay.
I hope others can be as helpful to our next commissioner as Steve has been to me.
I always have a little saying in this. I said, if I never do anything right, I got to take credit. Steve and I hired this guy, and it's that much easier when you got a good leader. So Steve was the first guy that brought that up. Hey, this is who we need to put in, because we were having the changeover at the time. Sean was leaving, and Wally was leaving the board, and so kudos for that. With that being said, motion for adjournment.
Just now, I move to file and receive and file packets to their stations and adjourn thereafter.
Okay.
Second?
Well said.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
We hope you enjoyed this week's St. Clair County Board of Commissioners meeting. Your St. Clair County Commissioners broadcast these meetings on Comcast Local Access Channel 12 every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. If you have any questions on any part of this program, please feel free to contact your St. Clair County Board of Commissioners or staff. You can find their contact information, the meeting agenda, and videos of the meetings at www.stclaircounty.org.